think some of the major media pundits are overreacting to Israel Adesanya's victory over Alex Pereira at UFC 287. Before I elaborate on that statement though, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, I want to preface my comments first by saying I am a big Izzy fan. I want to see him do well. However, I feel that I have a duty to be unbiased. All right, my man Luke Thomas from Morning Combat, he's my favorite by the way, said today that this KO felt historic. And I'm paraphrasing the rest of this, but he also talked about this victory solidifying that Israel Adesanya is nipping at the heels of Anderson Silva. My question is, how does this win by itself get him closer to Anderson Silva's championship run at middleweight? Don't get me wrong, Izzy has an impressive body of work, but he's 1-1 with Alex Pereira in MMA, and he's lost to him twice before. So Pereira walked into this fight up 3 fights, and Izzy broke through for the first time, which is commendable. But to me, for MMA, they're a wash. Pereira KO'd him a few months ago, and Izzy just returned the favor. They are a wash. That doesn't make you closer to the greatest middleweight of all time. Now, I think if Izzy goes on a run from here, then you can start back knocking at that Anderson Silva door. But this victory alone does not do that. Here's a quote from our man John Anik. John says, "This was one of the biggest singular wins of UFC history." Listen, I do think this is a historic feat for Adesanya individually, because this guy has already beat him 3 times in combat history, and that breakthrough is indeed important. But this being one of the biggest wins in company history seems a bit far to me. And I've been watching the UFC closely for a decade and a half, and there's quite a few victories that would be more historic than this one. It's funny how people quickly forget what was being said about Pereira before both of these fights. There was a ton of talk about how inexperienced he was, about how Israel Adesanya was a way better all-around fighter, and the whole narrative that Pereira was the worst UFC champion ever. Don't get me wrong, the victory in itself is nothing short of spectacular. But I think some of our friends in MMA media get a bit carried away with some of the superlatives they use when they're framing the aftermath of this fight. I'm curious though to hear what you guys think in the comments. I could be wrong. Please tell me what I'm missing.